There are stories that connect us to ourselves and to each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. Now, exclusively on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, your hosts, AJ and Natalie.
Hello, Wanderers. It is Wednesday night, and we are here to wander with you. I'm AJ.
I am Natalie.
And we're also wanderers.
We are wanderers.
We're wandering through this thing called life.
Wow, life.
What a joke. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. It's quite hilarious.
The wandering or the life part, or both.
The life part.
They say this cosmic joke.
Yeah, it's so funny. Anyways, hello. We are hanging out on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, and we love being on KGRA. Good stuff over there. I hope you guys are going over to live.kgradb.com right now, where you can create a quick account if you don't already have one for free. Mind you, you don't have to pay to have an account. I'll just live and be able to join in the conversation in the chat room and things.
All the things.
All the things, la la la. And if you aren't on live.kgradb.com, you can also hang out on KGRA Digital Broadcasting on Facebook and Rumble. Every time I say Rumble in my head, I'm like, let's get ready to rumble. Where is that from?
Well,
it's like fight nights.
It is fight nights.
Okay, well, we're not fighting tonight.
Right. But I'm pretty sure that's part of the background of that particular name. It's like, let's get ready to fight about it. We want the ability to speak freely.
Yes, yes.
Which is a big deal. But it is so not common. Do you know how uncommon it is to be able to speak freely?
Oh my goodness, we were just sort of talking about this.
There's
so many things I want to say sometimes, and
I told
for whatever reason, whether it be to be polite most of the time. Sometimes people don't need to know what's really going on in my head.
I find that so we've been learning different aspects of the design, studying the design, living our designs out, and the differences that you discover when you start understanding everybody has their own framework and their own way of operating. And when you start knowing everybody's design around you, then you're just like, oh, well. And I do know myself as an emotional being that I often will kind of hold it back. If I know I'm around someone that's not emotional, they're going to amplify it, and then I won't be able to have the conversation that I want. So I had a really fun session with a client who's emotional, and we were talking about the music and like getting swimming in, and I just remembered that when I'm really in my feels, then I like these songs. And he just said this one little phrase from and I was like, that's Death Cab for Cutie. And he's like, that's true. Nobody usually knows that.
Yeah, the deep feelers know all the lyrics to all the songs.
And it's like, and then we talked about this different music that we wanted to get into that you would want to swim with. And emotional. When you're emotional, you want to just get into the feels, especially if you're going through some rough periods of your life. I know that I did. I wanted to just get this emotional music that would make me cry, and I'd listen to it over and over and over again because I really needed to swim through this ocean of emotion. And not everyone can do that. So sometimes you just need to go, who's my emotional person? Because I need to swim with an emotional person. I don't want to have a non-emotional person because they won't swim with me. They're like, they tighten up, but they pucker up, and then they don't want to talk. And they're just like, that is so, they feel the reverb.
Yeah. It's like
it's a true thing.
It is like that.
This is when you or I have gone around going, I can't trust you to be able to have an emotional conversation with me. So there's wisdom in knowing.
There is,
It
yeah. It is a thing. It is a thing.
So-
And
freedom of expression is not, it's kind of a misnomer. I think it's like we want to have it, and there's a lot of discussion about that freedom of speech, but in reality, when you think about it, it's really not really easy thing to come by. Most people are not able to speak freely, or a lot of people get offended. You don't have the power in being offended that's running around in our world now.
I was gonna say, people talk about freedom of speech, but this is what cracks me up. Like, it's one thing, like, to have freedom of speech when we're in, like, these experiences with people we know, right? And we're unable to speak our truth. That's
Right.
one thing.
Right.
But collectively, with what's going on in the world right now, where there's riots going on and people are, like, finding their voices, they're coming together in groups to do that, not necessarily individually. But if you pull one out individually and you start asking the questions like, why are you writing? Well, and you see that they don't have the clarity of why they are there to begin with. They're just following the masses. Have
It's
you
true.
noticed that?
Yes, because there's a lot of people that are followers.
And that's probably a different topic, but
Wow.
it's still
They don't have
You
the
know.
clarity of why,
right. And
Yeah.
I mean, it goes like,
or all the facts behind the whole, the entire situation that's going on.
Mhm.
You've just taken this bit and, or even all the history. Do you know where a lot of places in the world we're going? There's long history,
right.
longer than we imagine in our little short history of the United States
You're
here.
right. You're
We
right.
are very, very young in the whole eons of things. Our
Definitely.
yeah, and so there's I was listening to a show the other day, and he was just going on how the length of time in certain places of the world that fighting's been going on. They have not liked each other for eons.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a whole other topic. Like, just having the amount of hate,
I
just
know.
because that's what they've been taught,
Yeah.
and not understanding. I can't put myself in their shoes. I have no
Me neither.
comprehension of understanding that type of suffering.
No.
I mean, you put me in a group, I'm a white woman in America. I have no understanding whatsoever of what it's like to have any of those experiences that any of those people are having.
Right.
I just see it from the outside looking in, and I can imagine all of the things that could come up for them, right?
Oh, right.
But that's the thing, is we lose our authentic selves when we do not have the ability to have that voice that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lot, like when you look at the emotion spectrum, how I'm always like, love, 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 like is the highest. Authenticity is right there with love. And love may be the answer, but I think authenticity is just as equally important.
Well, if you think about authenticity and love, and you say, well, love, maybe you love yourself enough to allow yourself authenticity. You love the other person enough to be authentic. And we talk about a lot of spiritual concepts and things in this show, and they're not as so easy to really gainfully employ in life. But that's the potential. I think a lot of what we talk about in the show and all the different guests we have are about reaching a different potential than we may currently be here, and how to get there.
Right. I learned so much every week.
I know.
And after
Best gig.
a show, like the next day, we'll talk about it sometimes, or throughout the week, we're like, oh, but we learned that in our show. We learned that in our show. And it's just like, we get to spend 2 hours of free education on Wednesday nights. I hope you all feel the same. I hope that you learned something as well. Might not be coming from me.
I think it comes from you as well.
I'm more of the sarcastic one, like, yeah, that's funny, haha. Okay, but I'm very human. What can I say?
That's the whole gig here. We're working on it, doing the human thing.
Yes, humanness.
Right.
Oh,
Well, I just wanted to like just to touch it. Maybe it's pull another thread on what we were just talking about, which is knowing if it's your fight. I was watching a video today, and I've just personally been going through my self-discovery and whether or not, I get this little tickle in my throat and I cough, and sometimes it's a mysterious, and there's times where I'm tuning in and I think there's this sort of energetic release and I was watching a video of, awful destruction, and it just threw me into a coughing fit, and I thought, that is not my fight.
mm-hmm.
It's so far away from me.
Yeah.
I can't do anything by watching a video. And so there's this awareness of my energy is put to work in my fractal, where I am.
Right.
And so my fight is with what I can touch and see and feel in my virtual space, and the wisdom to know where your energy is going. Are you getting these attachments, or you're being pulled off in this direction? Is it stealing you from your actual now? And that's a big thing with so much going on, so much access to see anywhere in the world at any time.
Mm-hmm.
It really does pull on our energy a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I even shared I share pictures of crystals online for vibes because I really believe in their healing qualities. And the reason why I shared the one I shared today was on Crazy Lace Agate. It's a happy stone. It's meant to bring happy energy, positive energy into your life. And the reason why I shared that is because people are coming in and you're like, how are you? And they're like, oh,
yeah,
everyone is so heavy. And being in that space with them most of the day, it's like you start to feel heavy because everyone's unloading on you. But that is the way that everyone is feeling right now. They're taking on all these emotions, all these events that are going on. They're carrying them around with them as if they can do something about it.
right.
And it'd be naive to say it's not our fight. It's everyone's fight. But also, why is it a fight? You know what I mean? But the energy alone, just speaking on that is so much. And it is good for you to take inventory and be like, is that something that I can even navigate in my life right now? Is that something I have any type of control or pull or anything positive? If it's not, I need to let it go. Because we're in self-preservation mode status right now. Everyone should be.
Yeah.
I mean, we really have got to stop looking outside of ourselves and go within. And sometimes when I say things like that, people are like, oh my gosh, that sounds so we're spiritual or whatever, right? And they shut down. But
it's funny that they would shut down though with a solid piece of advice that says, look, it's important. Go within. Check yourself.
Yes,
okay, yes. It's easier to clean up their yard over there. So I'm going to go over there and have that fight. What? Because you don't want to clean up your own space.
Even if we have that awareness like we do, we still carry some of that, and we have to, take inventory of what's going on. I had major dissociation today. I was filling up my 32-ounce. I have a 32-ounce water cup that I carry with me everywhere except for tonight. Yeah, I had plastic water bottle in my car.
What? Yeah.
Which reminds me, I need to drink more water. And I'll put this here so I can look at it. Anyway, I had it filling up and I have it on the counter because we have this really fancy water machine, and I just turned it on and I'm just and it's literally staring at it and it's overflowing and I'm just staring at it.
Oh, poop.
And I'm like, oh, that sounds so pretty. Because the water's just trickling out on the counter, down the cabinet, down to the floor, not even realizing it's sounding that way because my cup is literally over. Yes.
Oh, that is so appropriate sometimes when your cup just runneth over.
And then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, it is pretty. Oh my gosh. And then I was like, how do I turn this off? I don't know how to turn this off. And it really is just the knob of the water. But I was so checked out for a couple of minutes and I flooded this little area.
Oh,
And I was like, well, okay, I can see where I'm at right now.
yes.
Let's go do some grounding. You obviously are not in your body. Like everyone's getting affected by it, even when you have the tools and you know what to do.
Oh, yes.
I was breathing before the show and you're like, yes, take a deep breath. And I'm like, girl, I have practiced this breath work so hard this week. Trust me. I am
I believe
connected
you.
to my breath.
You're like, yes, this is how I've gotten through.
I'm like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. We've got this. No freaking out today. No freaking out today. Just breathe.
I freak out. But while you're breathing,
Yeah, I mean, who?
there are times that is exciting times. People say, and I've said it, it's an exciting time to be alive. And it's
and we signed up for this stuff.
I know, that's why they say
Yay.
we signed up for
Yay
it.
us.
I know.
Yay
So I
us.
have to tell you, I saw that post that you had on Crazy Lace Hackett.
That is not water.
I came, she's like, water. I said, water. We're going to drink water. I came out of a session the other day and grabbed a handful of and I'm just rolling that particular stone in my hands.
Oh.
And I was just completely unconscious. And I was like, oh, I just needed this. I always, my body just doing something automatic. It says lightened up my mood. Yeah, sometimes I have it.
Yeah, people think that stones are just wackadoo, but I swear they've saved my life.
Oh,
at moments, you know.
They do. And
I like
the stones. It's almost, there's many times where it feels or can sense that the stone will leap to you. Pick me. I can help you. I'm the one. Pick me. Pick me. Pick me.
They literally do that. They literally do that. People come in and they're like, so I'm feeling this. What's a stone you recommend? And I said, I'll recommend some stones, but I want you to feel them first. And they're like, feel them? What are you talking about? Like, they will talk to you.
That is so
And then when
wild,
it happens, they're like, oh my gosh,
I
you
felt
weren't kidding.
I felt something. Yeah, there's energy everywhere. Did you know that? How could you not know that? How can you be this old and not know there's energy everywhere?
Yes. Energy. I love it. Most of the time.
I think you love it all of the time.
I'll
She's
check into that.
I don't know.
I'll check into that. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I don't resonate with that. But also, this week has been very interesting energetic wise. I can't say, Mercury's in retrograde and blame it on that. It's not my style, or whatever planet's in retrograde. But there is something going on. Like, everyone's feeling it. We don't know what it is, but I don't know if we're having like a jump in the timelines. If we are having like reboots going on. I don't know what is going on, but something is going on.
The things I hear, we're, working towards evolutionary things. So there's so much.
I've never had an experience before with an extraterrestrial of any kind. I've seen things, I felt things, but I've never like physically seen anything, right? But you hear about the people who have these telepathic conversations in their experience. And there's a general message of, we're here to save your planet. I don't think they're kidding. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think they're kidding. I think that there's something so much bigger than we know.
I believe that, so much bigger than we know. When I listen to various lectures or am learning about the cosmology, it becomes so big. It's just so big. The cosmos we live in is just so big. And even so, when you come to appreciate that, it does put perspectives on things. Perspective is such a powerful tool to get a perspective on the whole thing and go, we're just these little teeny grains of sand in the beach of everything. And we're that grain of sand, and interacting with the other grains of sand around us. So we go from this big cosmological concept and energy and all that, and then down into this density of where it's playing it out. Now, I'm not really worried about you and I. I worry a little bit more about the other people that don't have our energy perspective.
I so worry.
And they're so chaotic with the energy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when you start to learn, you see this when people are coming in and they're learning about energy, and they just don't have the higher levels of grasp on it. So they're running around, and they may be like haphazard with their energy or doing things. And I feel like sometimes there's some safeguards built in. I hope so.
I really do too. I really do too. Maria in chat said that Charles, another wanderer, made the comment to her that everything seems off. And I'm hearing that quite a bit too.
So much, yes.
It's like something just feels off. Something doesn't feel right or the same. And like people are feeling it. It's like the calm before the storm.
I think so.
I don't know what that means or what that looks like, but that's the sense that I feel from it. Is it's just, something feels uneasy.
Yeah. There's a lot of areas that I know even.
How's your sleep been?
It's been full of dreams.
Oh my gosh. Wild
so
dreams.
Many dreams. Yeah.
I have people in my dreams I haven't seen or talked to in ages.
Wow.
It is so bizarre. Like the dreams I'm having are so detailed and so like all over the place.
I haven't tracked any of them because I'm not very diligent at things like that, tracking the dreams or writing them down. But I can tell you that I'm dreaming vivid, deep dreams. Sometimes I feel like I'm being educated or getting some instruction.
Okay.
My body hurts so much at night. That's the other thing that I was like, why does it hurt so much to be asleep and
laying in bed?
Why does it hurt?
Yeah, see, Maria's also saying crazy dreams. The dreams are a thing like I'm having. That's why I asked you, because my dreams, I've almost always had dreams, but just little ones here and there. Like this is all night, and I'm waking up so many times. Like my sleep is not restful, and I'm up. Like I'll go to bed and I'll sleep real well for a couple of hours, and then I'm up. And then an hour later, I'm up, and an hour later, and I keep checking the time. Like, is it time to get up? Why am I waking up? It's just so different. Charles says it feels like preparing for a branch in the paths. He's always so poetic. Always so poetic. Did I almost say pathetic?
Almost, but you didn't.
But that's because I was looking at preparing and paths at the same time. I'm really good at mixing words together. I've made so many new words.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but he is poetic, no doubt. I have many things I've typed up that he has shared because I'm like, ooh, that's good.
He's a wise one.
He is. Yeah, maybe so, Charles. Maybe we are being prepared in some way. I like to think that we were. Maybe they're doing something to our switchboards, our power boards, whatever they're doing. I don't know. Maybe we're getting upgraded. Maybe something's going on. I've heard that also. Either way, things are just, yeah, Eric says a splitting of timelines sort of way. Yes, I've heard that too. The timeline shifting. And we have a fella come into the shop every day who's become a really good friend of mine. And he feels things very deeply also. And he talks about that kind of stuff too. And I really take note when he says stuff because he's very connected. He is tuned in.
And what do you do? Even if we are,
I know. What do you do?
we're on the ride.
Really, we are here. We are in it. We are in it, people. Anyways, we're going to take our first break of the night. We'll stop this chitter chatter. We're going to bring our guest on for the evening, and you're going to just adore her. Everything that I know so far, I really believe so. Can't wait to meet her, and we'll do that when we return. Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back. I am AJ.
And I am Natalie.
And we're your host of Soul Wanderings, heard on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. And you can also join in the conversation by visiting live.kgradb.com. Hang out on Facebook or Rumble under KGRA Digital Broadcasting pages. Told you I mix words. I jumble words and sentences into a word. Here we are.
It's all about communicating.
It's all about slowing down. Slow down, AJ. Slow down. Sally Patton is our guest tonight. She's the author of Life is a Song of Love, where she draws up channeled non-dual teachings from Yeshua and Mother Mary, combined with a variety of teachings from many faith traditions and spiritual paths. And tonight we have the opportunity to hear about her journey and all the beautiful things she desires to share with us. Let's welcome to the show, Sally Patton.
Thank you.
Hi, Sally.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. I am not sure in all the years we've done the show, have we had anyone really talk to us about what you're going to share with us? So
Okay.
yay for us.
It reminds me of when I did some teachings with this lovely friend of ours, Mary, that had a lot. She just had a lot of connection with Yeshua, and so I was like, oh, I've heard a lot about this from her, so I was interested to hear so much more about it from you tonight. So I was like, oh, good, I get to hear more about that, learn about it.
Well, thank you for being here on the show with us tonight. It's really exciting to have you here. We like to hear about our guests like before this journey, right? You wrote this book, but who were you and who are you before you decided to share this goodness with the world?
Well, it's a good thing somebody else interviewed me and asked me to sort of reduce I'm 73 years old, and he gave me a half an hour to reduce my entire journey. And it was challenging, but I was able to do it.
Oh, we have plenty of time.
I know, I can tell. So I guess when I think about my spiritual journey and when it started, I think I probably need to go back to being raised by a mother who raised me as a Presbyterian, but she was very, very open to her children always following their own spiritual path.
Beautiful.
So my brother sort of gave up early on the church, but I stayed with it because my mother had sort of an openness about spirituality. And it did give me sort of a strong basis. But what happened is I started thinking about it too much. And then somewhere around when I was in high school, I just rejected the organized patriarchal Christian church. It just wasn't working for me. And I pretty much sort of went into being an agnostic, but I had even then, you realize that I graduated from college in 1972, and that was the beginning of the feminist movement. And I was very much a feminist. And with that came a desire again for some spiritual grounding. And so I started reading all of the books that I could find on the Wiccan and the goddess-centered spirituality, which seemed to answer some of what I needed, but not entirely. And sometime when I was in college, I took a course called the Psychology of Religion. And that actually was very freeing. I didn't expect it to be that freeing, but it was very freeing. And at the same time, I took a course on the ancient Christian women mystics. And at the time, I didn't appreciate them as much as I do now. In fact, I even write a bit about them in my book, Life is a Song of Love, because they were using patriarchal language to describe their love of God. And I was still having a hard time with that. Now that I have gone into them more deeply, I realized that they were actually describing a lot about the Holy Mother. And some of them actually started talking about Mother Earth and so forth. And they did it during a time when, if they had been caught, they probably would have been drastically silent. So that started this eventual change in my wanting to have a spiritual background and a spiritual faith of some sort. But then I got married, I had children, I sort of left a lot of that behind. And it was my children that finally I started thinking that I really wanted to raise my children in some kind of faith tradition that honored all of the faith traditions. And what I ended up joining was the Unitarian Universalist Church. And during that, my son Tyler, he was my second child, my daughter is Sarah, she's the oldest, failed kindergarten. And I was so stunned. I was like, how can you fail kindergarten? It just was mind-boggling to me that could happen. And so it gradually came about that eventually was diagnosed with a language-based learning disability, people call dyslexia. And I was already working in the disability field. I worked for nonprofits on how to create programs for children with disabilities. So I was already had a lot of professional experience with this. And I realized that what I really wanted was a spiritual understanding of what was going on. And so I got asked to do a mini sermon in my church to talk about my spiritual path. And I talked about Tyler. And in many ways, Tyler, what I see as a catalyst for my deepening spiritual journey. And afterwards, I had a number of parents come up to me and say that they really wish that they could have some kind of group in the church to talk about their children with special needs. And in one of these meetings, our minister was all for it. One of the women said to me, if I can't bring my son to church, where can I bring him? And I thought, wow, I can do something about that, because that's answering a call for me also. And one of the things that was part of the spiritual process was I was working for the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry in Boston. This is where I was in Boston. And it was through that church nonprofit organization. The minister that was head of this organization started doing these guided meditations. And it was like this world opened up for me. All of a sudden, the first guided meditation I had with my power animal, which is an owl, which is also a symbol of the divine feminine, showed up and then continued to show up as I started to do my own guided meditations. And a lot of that showing up was around my son Tyler. And it was through this that I decided to leave the urban ministry and pursue full-time working on creating beloved community for all the children that cross the thresholds into the Unitarian Universalist churches. And I wrote some proposals. I got some funding to write my first book, which was Welcoming Children with Special Needs, a guidebook for faith communities. And in that process of writing the book, I started really coming to understand better about what happens when we label our children with special needs. I began to realize that sometimes labels could be self-fulfilling prophecies. I began to realize that the children, because the professionals think we have to fix the children. We don't have to fix the children. The children don't need to be fixed. They are whole unto themselves, and they have gifts to share the world. And so this is part of the message that started coming up, and I was writing about it, and I finished the book, and then I wrote some more proposals to do some training. So that became my ministry for many, many, many years. I think the book was published in 2002, and I stopped doing this ministry in like 2013, somewhere around there.
Wow.
It was also during this time that I became a devoted student of A Course of Miracles. And it was interesting in the sense that I loved the message of A Course of Miracles, but it's, you know, it was channeled from Yeshua and I used Yeshua because this was my way of distancing myself from the Jesus of the patriarchal Christian churches. So it was during this time, the patriarchal language of A Course of Miracles always bothered me. The book, however, is extraordinarily well written. I mean, it is a beautiful, in fact, the whole book is written in iambic pentameter. That could only happen through a channeling. It is a really, truly beautiful book. However, I was missing the divine feminine. And eventually, staying with A Course of Miracles, it was during that time that I wrote my second book called Don't Fix Me, I'm Not Broken, Changing Our Minds About Ourselves and Our Children. And in this book, it's about parenting from love instead of fear. And it's about seeing our children as gifts rather than problems that need to be fixed. Mm-hmm. So that became my ministry also. And however, I kept missing the divine feminine. And so I started reading other channeled texts and a lot of different channeled texts. And I also started getting interested in the channeled texts from Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. And it just broadened everything. And it felt like, okay, this is more where my life is asking me to go, is to be an emissary of the divine feminine. So in one of these channeled texts, and I'll mention it, A Course of Love, Yeshua talks about the way of Mother Mary. And as I'm reading this, it's like it was this feeling I needed to get up and just leave and walk. And I need to backtrack a little bit here. Sorry. I'm not that linear.
There's so much to share. It's okay.
And I'm not all that linear. The linear is separation consciousness. The divine feminine is weaving and folding things together. And that's more where I rest now. So sometimes going back and trying to figure out how everything flows together, I forget. So we moved, my husband Rick and I moved from the Boston area in 2011, the end of 2011. And we built our house on top in a very remote location in New Mexico. You all may know the area of Georgia O'Keeffe and Sarah Patton and so forth, and Abiquiu. So that's where I landed, and we landed. And it really was helpful. I mean, I had a very, very strong spiritual guidance to move to New Mexico. And in fact, when we had bought some land, and when we came out here to look at the casita we were going to stay in, I got this, we were leaving, and I got this voice in my head. I mean, it was so clear. You need to go up to the top of that mesa. Fortunately, my husband decided it was okay to do because he was driving, but we went to the top of the mesa, and I looked out. This is where we are now. And I went, oh my goodness, this is the most beautiful spot I had ever seen, ever. Had the red cliffs of Ghost Ranch, had Sarah Patton, the mountain that Georgia O'Keeffe painted over and over again. And we got out of the car, and I went, this is where we're supposed to be. And so we finally got the real estate agent, and she brought it. I couldn't tell her where it was, but she took us next day immediately to that spot and said that it had gone on the market the day before. Wow. And we bought it. So fortunately, Spirit also arranged to help us sell the other property that we had bought. So that the guidance, the spiritual guidance for me out here was just multiplied. It would just grew and grew. It's like standing in these expansive views helped me expand what was going on in my heart. Mm-hmm. And you all were talking about dreams before and so forth. It's like I started having all of these amazing dreams and all of these visions, and guided meditation continues to be something that I do regularly because it brings me into my heart and into a spiritual place that I can't get to any other way. So hopefully I can remember. So I backtracked now. And I'm reading The Way of Mary in A Course of Love. And I get up and I take a walk. And immediately I had 2 hawks spiral overhead, which is always an indication that a message is coming. And I'm hiking and just staying with the feeling that something was going to happen. And all of a sudden I just stopped. And it's like my entire life passed before my eyes in a matter of seconds. And I hear very clearly that everything that I had done in my life was to bring me to this point where I am to be an emissary of the divine feminine. And then I didn't know what to do.
Isn't that how it works? You're like, okay, I got the message, but now what? Now what do we do with this?
Yeah. And then I had this mistaken belief that, okay, I can figure this out. And then, of course, that's not how the divine feminine works. She weaves things together. It took a while. In that time, though, I created, there's the rocks in northern New Mexico are so colorful and so gorgeous. And I had started when I was living in the Boston area, walking labyrinths a lot, because I found that the walking of the labyrinth as a walking meditation would take me into my heart in ways that just sitting and meditating, because I don't sit well. I need to get up and move. So the walking the labyrinth was really a perfect way for me to move and also walk into my heart. So when I got to this, where we were building our house and so forth, I went, oh, I have land here. I can create a labyrinth. So I think I collected rocks for about a year and a half. All over, everywhere here. I would walk and I would haul rocks up and get them close to the road so I could bring my car down. And I created an 11-fold labyrinth like the one at Chartres Cathedral in France.
Wow.
So, you want me to take a break? Do you have any questions, or I can just keep going?
So, I mean, keep going, but we definitely will have questions.
Okay.
The fun thing about Soul Wanderings is that we get to really get to know you. We have this beautiful opportunity to just really hear about your experience, and it gives us a foundation of who you are and who you've become and why you're sharing what you're sharing, and it allows us to connect with you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
We have about 5 minutes till our one break during the time we're with you.
Okay.
Other than that, we'll have the rest of the time for you to share.
Okay.
Story time.
So, let's see, in 5 minutes. So I created this labyrinth, and then I had that walk where I knew I was to return to the divine feminine, and then I didn't know what to do, and so I just kind of abided in this for a while, and I was in a meditation, and this would be a good place probably to stop. I was in a meditation with Kuan Yin. So part of this journey into the divine feminine has brought me many different goddesses into my life. And at this point, it was with Kuan Yin. And I was in another sort of deep guided meditation. And I was having an interaction with my 6-year-old self, and realizing how much that our inner child takes a lot of bruising, a lot of, we stuff stuff into our shadow so much.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, my 6-year-old self gives me a book, a blank book, and the title was Life is a Song of Love.
Oh, wow.
And I came out of that meditation with a lot of deep resistance. I hate to say it. I just was like, nope, I am not going to write another book. I am really enjoying my alone time on top of a mesa, my contemplative practice. That's all I want to do. I do not want to have to be in the public eye again.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yes, it is. And I had stopped my ministry and traveling around the country on creating beloved community for children with special needs labels in 2013. So I had a lot of practice, just a lot of contemplative practice that was very nourishing for me. And for some reason, I got it into my head that if I wrote this book, I wouldn't be able to do that anymore, which is not true. But at the time,
it felt like a lot.
It felt like a lot
to
do that. Plus the fact I had a wonderful title. I thought it was wonderful because I have sung all of my life. So that made sense to me that each one of us has our own unique spiritual song. And I wanted to write about it, but I was really pretty clueless about what it was going to be, except about the divine feminine.
Mm.
So I would say it was probably a year before I just started to let go of the resistance and started to read more books about the divine feminine,
Mhm.
to prepare myself. And I've always been a constant journalist. So I just started journaling, just journaling over and over and over again, letting the divine feminine, the Holy Mother, to sort of guide me in what was going to be in the book.
Mm.
Um,
Would you say that that was channeled information that was coming
well,
through?
when I started writing the book, it was channeled. It was a lot of channeled information. I would call it more like a transmission.
Okay.
And what enabled me to start was I started thinking about the heroine's journey, and that it was different than the hero's journey. And not very many people have written about the heroine's journey. And the only one I knew, because it was called The Heroine's Journey, was Maureen Murdoch. And so I went back and looked at that book, and it was, she was a pioneer. You know, it was wonderful. And she had the stages of the heroine's journey within the circle, which is the circle is the Holy Mother. But there was something about it. It just didn't feel right. I kept thinking, it's not stages. What is it? Because the Holy Mother, Divine Mother, the Mother face of God, whatever you want to call it, weaves, is the creation. The feminine energy is the creation. And I all of a sudden realized in a moment of inspiration that for me, the metaphor for the spiritual journey, the woman's spiritual journey, or the heroine's spiritual journey, however you want to call it, was the labyrinth.
Interesting.
And if you've walked the labyrinth, you know it's not like a maze, which is definitely created to get you confused. That's the patriarchal coming in to get you confused and lost. But the labyrinth is a mandala, type of a mandala, and it's a universal path that weaves in and out, folds in and out, almost takes you into the center, and then it takes you out again. And it keeps doing this until you end up in the center of your heart, or what I call in the center of the mother's heart womb. You can't get lost. There's no way to get lost. You may fold out and you may pause a while on the fold, but it always will eventually lead you into the center of your heart. There's no way to get lost.
That is so beautiful, Sally. I've never really considered that or looked at it in that way. That is so beautiful. I love the way that you describe the divine feminine as a weaving. Like
Yes.
it's so intricately, perfectly woven together. I just love that so much. We're going to take our break. So when we get back, we can continue to have our journey with you. We'll be back shortly. Hi, Wonders. Welcome back to Soul Wanderings. I am AJ.
And I am Natalie.
And we are your hosts for tonight and every Wednesday night. I'm all for tonight. Like this is our first time.
Right.
We've been here for a minute. Can you hear? Are we live?
I
think
can't
that
hear.
she just didn't turn our headphones on, but
I'm
we're
thinking
good.
that.
We're
I
good.
figured it
We
was.
got
It was just like,
this.
turn up the volume.
We're hanging out on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Please visit live.kgradb.com. That's where you can watch the show live. And there's a little chat area that's brand new. We want you guys to test it out. Go over there and hang out. If you're on Facebook or Rumble, KGRA Digital Broadcasting is where you'll want to be. We have so many amazing, consistent wanderers. I just want to thank you all for hanging out with us again this week. We just adore you and love you to pieces. Eric had made a comment about the first part of our show. We probably each also have a unique tone, sound, and frequency. I just think that was really cool. A really neat comment because
Pretty
yes,
sure.
I agree. Tonight we're hanging out with Sally Patton, and she is the author of Life is a Song of Love, where she draws up channeled non-dual teachings from Yeshua and Mother Mary. And she is sharing her personal journey story tonight. And we're in the second half of our show, so we have another almost hour to continue to wander. Welcome back, Sally.
Thank you.
First of all, I've heard New Mexico is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful and inspiring and creative and just a wonderful place to be.
I agree. It certainly has been actually a stunning background or backdrop actually to my spiritual journey. I think it informs me constantly. I don't think I would be where I am now or able to have written this book without being in New Mexico.
Well, then exactly where you're meant to be.
Well, it does feel like Boston might have been way more masculine and New Mexico more feminine.
Well, for me, that's definitely true. Yeah. And the other thing, there's a lot less snow than there is.
Yay for that. I think we're about to get some tonight.
Yeah, it's feeling like that.
Yes.
Well, I hope it comes this way. We haven't had moisture for quite a while now.
Oh, you need some moisture, huh?
Yes, we really do. So, so we left off with my inspiration that the labyrinth is a metaphor for the heroine's mystical journey. And what I didn't realize was that it actually became the way that the book was to be written. Now, I've always been an outline type of person, and that's how I got through college. I think it's being able to write outlines and then follow them and so forth. And it was very clear from the beginning. Mother Mary said to me, you have to throw away the outline and treat the book as you would walk the labyrinth. It'll weave in and out. You'll start writing and you won't know where any of this information is supposed to go. You may, and it's true. I would write stuff, and some of it would end up in the finale, and some ended up in the prelude, and some ended up in the different movements. I have 7 movements. I had no idea when I wrote the book that there was going to be 7. I had no idea that 7 is a power number about spirituality and unity and so forth. I had no idea. I did not know that Lilith was going to make an appearance as one of the movements.
Oh, that's the snake. I was curious about the snake on the cover.
Yeah. And that's the cosmic egg on the cover. And my son Tyler became a tattoo artist and also a very fine artist himself. So he created that cover for me.
Let's have it flashed back when those who didn't see it before.
Yeah, because I was
again.
curious about the symbology. Now I can see the labyrinth behind it, but the snake and the flowers and the cosmic egg.
Yes, so it's the cosmic egg, and then the snake. Remember, the snake is also spirit animal of the divine feminine, and the rose is Mother Mary's flower, and the lily is Mary Magdalene's flower, and so it's about rebirth, transformation. That's what the snake's about. It's also about the Kundalini energy that comes through us. And then you have the egg, which is oneness, is the cosmic oneness of a mother, father, Sophia God. where both the divine feminine and the divine masculine are balanced.
Mm,
And what
such a
happened?
beautiful cover.
Yeah, he did a really lovely job. I was pretty stunned when I got it myself. Yes, so there's a lot to unpack here, especially about balancing the masculine and the feminine. So I'll continue with all of the surprises. So I had no idea I was going to write a movement about Lilith and divine sexuality. I also do a movement about mysticism and what it means. I do a movement around anger, because at the time I started writing Life as a Song of Love, I had pretty severe crippling back pain. And to the point that sometimes I just had to crawl around. And it was the movement on anger, as I said, it got written actually first in some of this because I realized that I had so much I brought into this life, anger at the patriarchal conditioning, that I kept stuffing it because I grew up during a time where you couldn't really talk about that stuff. So I got so good at stuffing everything and being a calm person, but our bodies are often the last resort to help wake us up. And I began to realize I had so much anger stuffed in the back. So the goddess Kali Ma showed up to help me understand the anger and also to show me how to dissolve the anger into fierce love. And then...
Interesting. This is so interesting. No, we had a conversation before the show about anger and how it, and symptoms and experiences, and it's so crazy because before every show we just have like organic conversation even before we're on air, and then our guest comes on and it's just validation that the universe is speaking to us, right? Here you are talking about how your anger manifested into back pain. Imagine that.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of women's anger has manifested into back pain. I certainly have. Yeah.
I'm having an experience right now, Sally, that is just wild.
It's true, and trying to figure out the creation process, that's even something else that the wandering through the creation process, and then where you're you're wandering through the feminine energy and knowing that it's a meandering process, not linear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're working in a very feminine energy, or you have that within your own self, that's actually very insightful to understand that feminine energy is this flowing, weaving energy, in contrast to what we are so often conditioned with, which is this other patriarchal energy. I haven't really ever heard that explained. And that's, I think, is something significant to take note of, how the differences are.
And it took me, it took me 3 years to write the book. I haven't even gotten to all of the surprises that came up. But while we're talking about anger, I was so angry at all of the patriarchal conditioning that finally came up, and also realizing how much I had stuffed. And anybody my age who grew up as I was born in 1950, we got the patriarchal conditioning full force, and all of the crappy stuff that goes with it. The men, I escaped being raped twice. I had a lot of anger toward how men had treated me. I was dating one man, and he wanted to go in and meet his friend in a bar that women couldn't go to. So he left me in the car while he went and met his friend. I can't tell you how angry I was. So
I'd be walking home. Hello, Uber. What's up?
yeah, no Uber back then. So I had to, in order to heal this anger, I write about it in my book. Kali Ma, she has all of those many arms and all of those swords, and she cuts off all of what she calls demons. But what she's really cutting off is all of the conditioning of separation consciousness. And I realized that my problem is I hadn't been able to let the anger work through my body, for decades. And so I started listening to heart pounding music, and I visualized myself having several swords. And I put all of the men that I had been angry with and really upset with, and I cut off all their heads. And it helped. I mean, it really helped. I started the lessening of the pain in my back. And so my recommendation for anybody that's holding a lot of anger and has back pain is to find some way to help the anger move through your body.
Yeah. It is amazing how emotions can get trapped in your body and cause these physical symptoms.
Yes.
And every physical symptom can be associated with some sort of experience or emotion, right? And just like a listener said here just a moment ago, repressed emotions often become toxic. It's very true.
Yes. Yes, very much so, for both men and women.
Absolutely.
And also it was during this time I realized that I really didn't have a clue what the divine masculine was, because we've been so conditioned by the distorted toxic masculine. It's hard to even imagine what the divine attributes of masculine energy are. And in fact, pretty much, I thought they were all part of the divine feminine. But then I realized that the protective instincts of the masculine divine, that protection is one of them. Clarity of purpose. The feminine energy is wild, it's chaotic, it's creative. I mean, the feminine energy is what gives birth. However, we need that masculine clarity of purpose, the light, in order to bring the creative energy into manifestation. And I began to realize that I needed to, and this was part of healing the anger, that I needed to concentrate on balancing and recognizing the protective masculine energy in me, so that I could start balancing my divine feminine and become more balanced myself.
Yes.
And one of the things that helped, I read in a book somewhere, how the masculine energy is almost like the dragon inside of us that we've been so afraid of the dragon of anger, that actually is the masculine energy, when you let it loose, just wants to protect the feminine energy and provide the grounding that you need in order to create. That all came out in the movement on anger. So while I'm doing this, my daughter had moved to Santa Fe several years after we had moved to the Abiquiu area. And she came home one Christmas. And she's very much a part of the story of Life is a Song of Love. She was deeply depressed, thinking that she needed to break up with the man she was with, but it was so much more than that. And she said to me that her deepest wound was believing that I didn't love her. And boy, was that hard to hear, because I so much loved her. And she based it on the fact, as a small child, that at some point, around 4 years old or so, I stopped hugging her. And after she told me this, I had to sit for a while. I said, surely I didn't stop hugging my daughter when she was so young. But she was right. And all of this evolves over several weeks. And, we're still working on it, a lot of stuff. But I realized I came into this life fearful of hugs. Because hugs in a patriarchal world can be very harmful, especially from men. And please, I am not dumping on men. I totally understand that patriarchal conditioning has done a number on the men's hearts, and it's done a number on women's heart and womb. And in fact, I believe in some ways patriarchal conditioning has been worse for men, because they really, really were taught not to feel. It's the only way that the patriarchal paradigm of power over could survive, is to have men lose their ability to feel. Or they couldn't have fought all of these wars and still fighting these wars. So eventually, Sarah and I, one of the things I realized, and it helped a lot, was to realize that I may not have shown her the physical love she needed, but she also knew that she could come and talk to me without me becoming too defensive. The other thing that is helpful to understand is this is evolved in writing the movement on the mother-daughter patriarchal wound. I had no idea that this was going to be the center, the fourth movement, and the three movements came up to it, and then I had three movements go from there.
Sally, may I interrupt really quick? When you say movements, what are you referring to?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. They're like sections. So the book is divided in 7 sections, but I call them movements.
Okay.
Because very much Life is a Song of Love is like a written symphony in many, many ways. And it's about each person's own unique song, and how all of those unique songs join the vibration, the rhythm, the resonance of cosmic music. And so our unique songs sort of create the symphony of creation. And so calling them movements gives that feeling that the book moves. So I wrote the book like walking a labyrinth, everything weaving in and out. It's a dance of movement and expression. That's
beautiful.
That's
Thank
what,
you.
Yeah, that's what the mother told me. And at times, I was probably as baffled as you all are at my talking. Sometimes I just had to let go and trust that everything that was coming through me, I was living, and therefore it was going to be in the book somehow, and that it would all eventually weave into a whole that actually made sense. There were times where I had my doubts, because I would say in the 3 years that it took me to write the book, Sarah and I continued to work on the mother-daughter patriarchal wound, just weaving in and out and supporting each other. And it was in this movement that I understood and began to understand that women were conditioned to be the prime purveyors of patriarchal conditioning. And in order to do that, all of our wild, chaotic wisdom, nurturing, all of the wild wisdom that we used to have as wise women, as shamans, as witches, because witches, that this has a bad name now, but it didn't used to. It used to mean wise women and women that were connected with the earth and women that could create and hold the world. It had to be suppressed in order for patriarchy and colonialism and all of the power over paradigm to take hold. So thousands of years we were suppressed, that divine feminine energy, our creative energy, to the point where we feared for our lives. In fact, women even getting together in groups for a long time, you couldn't do that. And I'm sure you've heard about
So powerful.
It is so true. I mean, to like hear it like this and reflect back on our history and realize that, I mean, there's all those years and it happening and then years and years and decades and centuries to unwind from that.
Yes. And I just see and definitely men were also conditioned to not feel the same way that women were, except that what happened is the imbalance, so that we began to fear so much about our lives and about the daughters that we were raising, because we didn't want them to end up harmed. As I said, we became the prime purveyors of patriarchal conditioning because the mother is the first, that the children are born to the mother, and the mother was expected to be the nurturing and to raise the children. And we also fell into thinking that we're victims. And so the return of the divine feminine and the mother to the face of God means that women need to do their work first, our inner work, as within, so without, so that we can let go of the victim role. And that in turn will help the men do their own inner work to return to the divinity that exists within all of us. We're all divine beings.
Amen to that.
So, so the mother-daughter patriarchal wound, I had to, therefore, when I was working with Sarah, I had to go back and look at the female line, my female line, what I learned from my mother, what my mother learned from her mother. I began to really feel through how all of this had sifted down and how I taught that to my daughter. And one of the things that happened was, in my efforts to make sure that my son Tyler was removed from the public school system, and I eventually got him into a school for kids with language-based learning disabilities, because he literally was being, how can I put it? He was losing his spark, his loveliness, because the public school system was treating him as defective. and something that needed to be fixed,
Mm-hmm.
which is what led to that ministry. So while I was so concerned with Tyler and I was working full time, is that Sarah began to believe that she needed to be the best student possible in order to help mommy and daddy so that I could spend my time with Tyler. But she also denied her own needs by doing that. And I expected her to be strong. That's what my mother taught me. That's what I taught Sarah. You needed to be strong. And I was so good at stuffing feelings that I taught that to Sarah.
Of course.
Just through example, is that how that occurred? Just from how you were acting, that's what she picked up from you? Or is
Yeah.
that something that you actually told her?
No, I didn't tell her. She just picked it up. Yeah. And, retrospect's a wonderful thing. I really she was so good at it so early. I just thought, oh, great, wonderful. I don't have to worry about Sarah. I have to take care of Tyler. And, all of those subtle cues,
I think that happens with so many parents.
It does.
With children. Yeah.
I do though. Sarah doesn't have any children, but a lot of her friends, they are so much better parent or mothers than I was. I think that there's a lot more among a lot of the women who know they are on a spiritual path and know that there's more than just the separation consciousness, that there's divinity in everyone. I keep being just amazed by how well they deal with the feelings with their children and talk about them openly. We never talked about feelings when I grew up. We didn't talk about feelings when I was raising my children. So, and I thought I understood, but I realized that I really didn't.
Right. You knew what you knew when you knew what you knew it, right? I mean,
Right.
I think that's how every parent, they're doing the best that they know how.
And I love that. I do love that. I think that all of us are doing the best we can with the awareness we have in every single moment.
Exactly.
And then as we do our own inner work, then that awareness increases, and then we're able to handle things in a more loving way.
I feel like being very forgiving of yourself, right?
Yes.
Because and having that understanding that you just know what you know when you know it, and you're doing the best you can in any given moment. Because that's what life is all about. We're here to learn, and we make choices as parents or friends or whatever experience we're having, and we don't always understand the repercussions of those, good, bad, or indifferent.
That's very true. And it was in this movement on the healing the mother-daughter patriarchal wound that I began to understand even more how each one of us comes into any lifetime. I mean, if we think about all of the lifetimes that we've had, we carry with us what I call a sacred wound. And I call it sacred because the wound is what we are learning to dissolve and make holy. So it's a sacred wound. It's what we bring into this lifetime that we can eventually dissolve and make holy. And it is often the same sacred wound through all lifetimes. So for Sarah, it was abandonment. For me, it's feeling second best. And for Tyler, it was being left behind. And which is that makes sense for a child who has dyslexia and is considered defective by the education system, and having to be fixed, that he would feel like he would be left behind. But the thing to remember is, before we incarnate, there's a incarnation planning process where we decide who's going to be our parents, who's going to be our family, what we hope to learn and also dissolve in this lifetime to help us on our spiritual path. So Sarah came in with this wound of abandonment. And pretty much I realized that almost anything I did as a mother who was still learning her own spiritual path was that wound of abandonment would have been triggered no matter what I did. So yes, you have good comments coming in. Yes, we're not alone in this. We are definitely not alone on this.
Yeah, Charles, he's something special for sure.
Certainly is. And so I learned, this is where I began to write about forgiving the unforgivable and loving the unlovable. That there are lots of things that we've done in our life that we have not felt good about, and that we are being asked to forgive ourselves. Because if we can't forgive ourselves, we can't forgive anybody else. And what this world needs right now is a lot of forgiveness. And a lot of what's happening right now feels like it's unforgivable. Mm-hmm. And it also feels like it's not something that we can love, that it is unlovable. And we have to remember that we're not forgiving the acts, and we're not trying to love the things that are harming people. We are forgiving ourselves so that we will not take that anger and that judgment and push it on others. Mm-hmm. Because what the world needs is less projecting on others everything that we hate about ourselves. And so, once again, circumstances would come up where I would go, oh my goodness, this just happened, and how can I forgive it? So the whole book, you could talk a little bit about the whole book, was writing my way into forgiveness. And I also want to say, I'm still learning what I wrote, because my guidance was so high that I was writing stuff as I was living it, but also some of it I still need to do my work with. I'm still learning what I wrote in the book. And
that is so interesting that you say that. We've interviewed so many different authors, and even though they wrote the book, there have been times they haven't even remembered or can answer questions about their book. But they won't admit that they're still learning about what they wrote in the book. But you are obviously aware that you're still taking in all of the downloads that you receive.
Yeah, but it would happen while I was writing the book. I'd go, oh, I need to write about this. And then I'd get some kind of awareness coming through, and I'd go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I did write about it. And then I'd have to go back and read it. And I'd go, oh, yeah, I did write about that. So, and it still happens. I pick up the book sometimes and I'll just open it randomly and I'll go, oh, that's very interesting. That's helpful.
But also at different times of your life, you're going to have a different version of yourself, right? And so you're also going to look at the thing that you wrote, and it taught you one thing in that moment, but it's going to teach you a different thing in the next moment.
Yeah, our awareness, the levels of our awareness,
Right.
they're like walking the labyrinth. I mean, I talk about walking the labyrinth like almost a spiral, that you walk the labyrinth, you have some awareness, and then you walk a different labyrinth, and you have some more awareness, and then you walk a different one. And it just keeps going. Your level of awareness goes up as you walk the labyrinth.
With
And
all of that being said, Sally, how did you trust that your book was complete and that you can put it out in the world for people to experience?
that is a great question, because I asked Mother Mary that. I said, how do I know when I'm going to end? And then I had this amazing, this was more amazing because it was an actual dialogue where I was hearing the words as I was writing. Most of the time, the information would just would come in, and then I'd have to feel into it, and then I would put the words to it. But this time, it was just a dialogue with Mother Mary about the book ending, and honestly, I'd have to read it in order to tell you what it said. But it was that I would know. And then she said, and remember, the book isn't an ending. You complete the book, but it's not an ending. There are no endings. There's only beginnings. And your spiritual journey is never ending. Everybody's spiritual journey is never ending. When we think of the spiritual masters, such as Yeshua or Buddha or Saint Germain or Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene, whoever is the person that speaks to you, the master speaks to you, their spiritual journey hasn't ended. It continues for them. There are signposts along the way. But the cosmic mother father is never ending. And therefore we are never ending. We are always creating. We are always expanding. We are always one with the cosmos. Infinite possibilities, infinite potentialities, infinite. And it's a little hard to understand that while we are in these physical bodies.
Well, we think that there's somewhere to go to get to. There's no there.
There's a destination.
It's no, right.
But there is no destination.
There is no destination. And that's what Mother Mary was telling me. There is no destination. That the book will end, but there is no destination.
So the book is like it was an assignment. So like you're going to class and you do this assignment. Here's your homework assignment. Write this book. Good job. Yeah. Next homework assignment.
That's a good way to look at it.
Read the book.
Go back to the book and remember what you wrote.
Yeah.
Or get refreshed on it. You're just like, maybe is when you go back to it, you're like, I didn't even remember writing that, but that was good stuff.
It's very true. And part of my anxiety a bit about doing an interview such as this is that if you wanted me to quote specifically from the book, I can't. I can remember where things were written, and I remember the overall, like I also wrote about the universal grandmother archetype. And a lot of what I learned in writing my books about children with special needs labels came back toward the end of the book about the indigenous communities and the children's fire, and how we treat our children is a very, very much a reflection of our world. And we don't treat our children well at all. We have so many children that are starving. We have so many children that are abused. We've had genocide everywhere. We're still experiencing genocide now. So we aren't treating our children well. Mm-hmm. And there's so much came through about the wisdom of the indigenous communities I mean, even going back to the Celtic times. And of course, here in the Southwest, the indigenous communities here there's so much wisdom that we can learn from those that have come forward to teach us. So I wrote a lot about that in the last 2 movements of the book, about returning to the children's fire, returning to a commitment to our children, that we need to create this world, a divinely human world, which I truly believe we're actually creating, despite what's happening.
Wow.
I really, truly believe that that's the direction we're going in. And all of this crap that's coming up, all of this stuff was hidden below the surface, and it had to come up into the light to be healed. And so we're just going to have to stay with it for a while till it gets
You have to stay
As
with it. That
uncomfortable
was
as-
very profound.
Yeah. Just gonna have to hang out in this for a minute.
That's what happens with healing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like with your book, even without remembering everything that's in it, that this is the type of book that would benefit all types of readers? Like how can your book help other people?
Well, I actually sort of went through a kind of a crisis on that, because that was before I was before the labyrinth, and then before I was to just fold it in and out. But I wasn't sure who my audience was. I guess that's the best way to explain. I wasn't sure who my audience was. And then Mother Mary said, don't worry about it. So I didn't. I just wrote what came through. And I actually hope some men will read the book. In fact, I have several men, spiritual brothers, that are reading the book. I think it's helpful for both women and men to be aware of each other's spiritual journeys. And I truly believe right now, because we're still so divided by gender, that and women were conditioned to be caretakers of men's egos, the separated ego, that it's helpful for the men to do their own thing and women to do their own thing, but to be aware of coming together and be aware of how we're still intertwined. And I just trust that the women that will get something out of the book, that it will get to them. That's all I can do, is just trust that whoever needs to read it will read it.
Right. I think that's such a beautiful place to be as someone who's courageous enough to write what they're receiving and putting it out into the world. You have a large amount of trust that it will be in the hands of those who it's meant to be with, and the messages will be received for their best and highest good.
Yes, that's a beautiful way of putting it. And the other thing I realize is whoops, it just went straight through my head. It was,
Oh, I'm very familiar with that.
You're like, I don't know. I do have a question though. It references our non-dual nature. Can you explain that a little bit? The non-dual.
yeah. So everything within separation consciousness is dualism.
Right.
And so, but as divine beings, and also as we are creating the new earth and becoming divinely human, both fully human and fully divine, we are bringing there will no longer be those divisions, because there is differentiation within creation. But in separation consciousness, we took that differentiation and divided people. We divided by race, we divided by religion, we divided by gender, we divided by sexuality, we divided by ethnicity, we divided. That's what separation is about, division. And so that's what I refer to as we will return to that non-dual place. We will return to that place where there are no divisions. There's infinite variety. Wonderful. I'm so looking forward to being in this place where there's infinite variety without having to create. Some people are not supposed to be here because they have a different skin color, or because they are non-binary sexually, because they are gay, whatever, because people have aged and therefore they shouldn't be here anymore. I mean, we've done such a good job at dividing. We don't know what it means to be in oneness and unity, but we're learning. And I still truly believe that in the next, I would say maybe over 10 to 20 years, that we will see a significant change. We will not have created we will not be yet in what people are calling the new earth or the fifth dimension or the age of Aquarius or whatever. But we will know that we are on the way. I think about 10 years.
That's a shorter timeline than I've heard.
I know. I was like,
I would like to see it in my lifetime. That would just be amazing.
Well, I would love to see it in my lifetime. I've been told that I'm going to live a long life. And I'm like, oh, because that means then I'll have to live into my 90s in order to. And it won't have, I will see the beginning. I am sure that I will see a beginning enough that where I am now, I will be grateful.
What has been your most memorable experience while writing the book? You said that during the meditation, you sat with Kuan Yin. You talked about being with Kali. Like, what has been your most memorable experience through this journey writing Life is a Song of Love?
I would have to say it was healing the mother-daughter wound. I mean, it was heartbreaking at times. That's what I wanted to say that I forgot, is that I'm very vulnerable in this book. I mean, I really put myself out there about all of the heartbreak, especially with my daughter. And I would say that was probably the most difficult movement for me to write, and also the most empowering and the most I learned about forgiving myself, warts and all.
So during the process of writing this book, you yourself have grown a lot and healed quite a bit.
Yeah, I am not the same person that started writing the book. Not at all.
I love that for you. And it sounds like if someone could read the book themselves and have their own experiences in the healing and growth as well.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, that's the point, right?
And the thing about it is when we shove away so many feelings, we harm ourselves. And when in order to heal all of the feelings that we've shoved away, we have to be vulnerable. And I hope that everyone that's listening, I hope they have spiritual brothers and sisters that they can be vulnerable with. I know I do. I mean, someone that does not judge you, someone that just accepts you for who you are and allows you to be vulnerable and upset and cry and be angry and still holds you within the circle of love. I mean,
That's my
one of
Natalie.
yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that is important to realize is that we are learning how, we're realizing that we can't keep shoving people outside the circle of love. We can't say, for instance, that all of our government officials in all of the countries are outside the circle of love. We have to find a way to bring them into the circle. And it doesn't mean that we have to like their actions. We just have to learn that the only thing that's going to heal this world is to bring everybody that we think is outside that circle of love inside of it. And I don't have the best solution for that, but I do know that we have to start with ourselves. It's the
Absolutely.
only place we can start is with ourselves.
Absolutely.
And to love ourselves. Love ourselves, warts and all of the things that we've done, that we've shoved away and hated about ourselves, which then pretty much injures our inner child, which holds the shadow. That's how we save the world, is loving ourselves first. And we don't have a clue how that love vibrates and spreads throughout the world, because it starts to magnify with everybody else who's choosing love over fear. It starts to magnify. And there are so many, many more people that are doing that now. There's prayer circles, there's spiritual teachers and so forth who bring people to get together to pray for what's happening in all of our countries that are harming people. We have no idea how much that helps. It's the thing that keeps me going.
Mhm.
And it keeps me hoping and having faith that we are truly creating a world where it will be divinely human.
It's beautiful that you shared that. Thank you, Sally. How can everyone grab a copy of your newest release and everything else you have to share?
Well, the Life is a Song of Love is at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And so you can order it there. And I've been told that it's in some independent bookstores. I don't know where or whatever, but I've been told that it's there. And so I'll just trust. Isn't that kind of the thing? You just have to trust.
Yes, and independent bookstores can always order things in too.
Yeah. I just revised my website to be totally around the book. So if you go into my website, there's lots of information about the book. I have sections on fierce love. I have sections on the mother-daughter patriarchal wound. I have lots in there that you could find out more about the book.
And the website is
embracechildspirit.org.
awesome. And for those who are watching tonight, it is flashed upon the screen, and in the chat rooms, we have put them all there for you to gain easy access to. And those listening or on a replay, embracechildspirit.org. Sally, it's been so beautiful spending time with you tonight.
Thank you.
You have
I love
inspirational
meeting- I
messages.
love meeting you. Yeah, both of you. Thank you.
Well, we have enjoyed your story, and I'm so happy for you that you've been able to heal so much, and especially with your daughter. That's just awesome.
Thank
It
you.
really, truly is. Keep doing the good work.
I will. and I'm thrilled that you all have this show. This is wonderful. It's the first I'd ever heard of it. So
Oh, thank you.
Aw.
Well, feel free to share.
yeah,
We love new wonders. We've
I
been
will.
doing this for years and years, so it's nice to have new, fresh blood.
It is.
Thank you.
Thanks again. And to all of our wanderers, you guys have been so awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out in the chat rooms on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, Facebook, Rumble, and live.kgradb.com. We appreciate all of you so much. And we will see you all next week. Until then, be good to yourself and be good to each other. Good night.
Have a good one.